Hi, everybody. This is Nick Morgasen, head of the Empty the Bench podcast network. Haven't really had a chance to talk a lot about the stats or the subscribers or how we're doing with the network. And we hit a big milestone. You want to know what that milestone is? The Empty the Bench network has reached 1,000 subscribers on its YouTube channel. You ask, is that significant? It's very significant in a lot of ways because we now have the chance to become a monetized channel. We have the chance to grow in a lot of ways. We have the ability to do things that we were not able to do originally because the channel was not growing as fast as it should have been. Now we're getting to a point where the channel is growing and having the ability to add. And we made our deal with Playback, and now we're expanding to do a lot more things, and we're adding people, and we're exploring different avenues to really grow the channel, whether that means with new people or that means with some old people. So,
did you say old people?
Whoa! What are you doing here?
I don't know. I thought I'd just drop by and see how things are.
Holy cow. Tom Albano in a flash, everybody.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. It's... You and I have been through the ups and downs over the 6 or 7 months. But
yeah,
I think it was time to make amends in a lot of ways. And I think we have a good thing to tell people.
Yeah. I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back.
Yeah.
Little bit different from when I was last year, but I am back. I first of all will be, I guess we can just go into not everything, but most things. Yeah. Obviously last 7 months, 8 months or so, been gone. You and I made amends very recently. Obviously some stuff has happened at the network recently. There have been definitely changes and more investment with Playback, etc. since I was last here. And I will be returning. I'll be returning specifically to the Playback division of things. You will see me on the MMA Outsiders every now and again, back on one of my old homes with San Bando and such. Obviously, MMA Outsiders is going through a couple of different changes here and there. So I will also, as much as I'm joining the Playback division, football season is here, and I will be claiming back a spot and coming back to the football forecast.
Yeah. First of all, we got to get your videos again because those were part of the mix. Having fun with your video, especially with Aaron Rodgers in a Steeler uniform. But it doesn't really work anymore, does it?
It's a very different NFL from when I was first doing the videos. You know, Aaron Rodgers is now a Steeler. Russell Wilson is now on the Giants.
I mean, I could see Mr. Unlimited really becoming a video. That was the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah. The Jets now have Justin Fields, who I actually respect as a quarterback. So,
yeah, I mean, it's nice to make amends with people. It's not, if I can give advice to people, don't hold grudges forever.
no.
That's the way I look at it. And I'm not going to say everything we talked about because I don't think that's fair. But just like, we both had our mistakes here and there. Okay, it happens. But we just need to look past the mistakes and get back to where we do best, which is in this world of making content. And I made a bad mistake doing a video on YouTube, and I shouldn't have done it. It's now gone. That's how much I wanted that video out of my sights. But we're going to do some things. We're going to do some things together. You're going to do some things here as well.
Yeah, there is something else involving playback, but I kind of want to hold off on that until
We
I
figure
have
all the plans out.
yeah, solid base, you know, maybe to wait for the Contender Series season to end, so there is more time with that.
Yeah. Let's just say there's two prominent shows it's getting mixed with that.
Yeah.
It actually, when you and I were discussing, I said, oh, it's actually an interesting idea that I want to see play out.
Hmm.
So I can't wait to see that. But before we finish a video, it wouldn't make sense because the last time before everything happened, we did a show together for, oh God, how long did we do a show together for?
Last show was December. It was best of time around the time I left.
But how, what was it, like 4 or 5 years we did a show together, it feels like?
Longer than that if you want to go back to the Unspoken days.
That's true. You're right. So it's probably like 6, 7 years. So it really wouldn't be us unless we talk the topic. And actually, we figured out a reunion, but a certain show we like looks like it's heading for a split.
Yeah. If you have followed us since the Unspoken days, or even the early ETB days, sometimes we would have little talks about what was going on the Dan LeBatard show. Obviously, you're a fan of the Dan LeBatard show. I remember watching, and he had Highly Questionable on ESPN with him and his father, because I would always love to quote, "You don't get the show."
Yes.
But now it seems as if there's some split, as you kind of said, going
Muddying
on.
of the waters as
Yeah, Stugotz getting a deal with Fanduel as he's going to be producing shows for them. And over the last couple of months, because there were reports of this about as early as, say, February or March, and Mum has been the word, basically, on the Dan LeBatard show since those reports.
yeah, so Stugotz really hasn't been on the show much. And this was part of the deal he signed when he re-signed back with Metal Arkin to do the show, that he was going to make less appearances. He had, well, he still has, but when the show was on, there were God Bless Football and
Yeah.
Stupidity, which, by the way, is probably one of my favorite names for a podcast. But I don't know if you know, like, he's a Dead and Company fan. I don't know if you know that at all, but they actually did they're doing a show called Stugotz and Company, and it has like the Dead and Company type logo in the background. And so he's doing that. But here's the weird part about this, which is he's taking like Izzy Gutierrez and Amin El Hassan. Like, there's a weird mix going on between the two sides now, because the two sides almost have to pick.
It feels like when a nation kind of splits into two different nations, or if one company kind of splits into two, and you're seeing, as you were kind of saying, the lines divided, the battle lines being drawn, if you will. I'm not necessarily saying that they're going to be at war with one another, but it just seems weird that, you know, when certain programs end or certain people leave programs, that there's usually a somber goodbye or a retirement or a thank you. You haven't seen that much. You know, even when I saw a video that recently was produced from the Dan LeBatard show, they had that small trophy that was being given out, or Stugotz Award or something.
Yes.
And it said on the video title, I don't know about how he addressed something with Stugotz. It didn't feel like much of an addressal.
Well, you know the Dan LeBatard personality. He's very, like, I don't know what the word is, like condescending a little.
It felt, no, but I mean, like, it didn't feel like he was necessarily addressing a split. It just seemed more like a thank you for all the times we did have together.
20 years.
Right. And nothing about what's next, what's to come. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, and I didn't feel like I got much out of it in terms of what's that phrase? Addressing the elephant in the room.
Oh yeah, addressing the giant elephant in the room, so to speak. I mean, Stugotz has come out publicly quite a few times now and said apparently like they're not friends. Now, the way this show goes, you don't know what to believe sometimes what comes out of their mouths because
it's partially like pro wrestling, the kayfabe and the reality.
Yes, like you have no idea. Like, the show is a giant sarcasm, is the way I like to refer to it, where they say one thing and then, like, because they always like BS on certain things, you're like, there's no way that can be true. And they're like, oh, wait, it is true. Wait, what just happened?
Mm-hmm.
And the LeBatard shows a huge community of fans, like in a lot of ways. And they just had the 20th anniversary. It was a huge thing. And they almost weren't they weren't sure, like Dan and Stu and Metal Arc, if they were going to re-sign a distribution deal with Draftkings. And that's the weird part of this scenario going on currently, because Metal Arc and the LeBatard show are a Draftkings distribution.
Okay, so yeah, it kind of is battle lines being drawn then, because it's Draftkings versus Fanduel.
So, I was reading in the social media, like, did Stugotz figure out how to get paid by two gambling companies at the same time? Because that was like the weird thing. Like they say Stugotz was like the money guy. Like he always tried to do the least amount for nothing, which is not true. I think that's just a persona of the show. But I find it interesting that a lot of the people are going on the Stugotz side. Like a lot of the people that produced on the LeBatard side are now going this way. Like,
which begs the question, what's going on over there at LeBatard? What's going on with him?
They also claim apparently that, or Stu said that he had to drive like an hour and a half to get to the downtown Miami studios every day. Like, I get that commute. It's an awful commute. Trust me. When I used to have to go from Long Island to the city to get to the station, train, car, it does not matter. It is the worst commute to have to travel like into the center of the city. So this is odd. Like, I thought this story was perfect because this show was everything. Like, when we were doing the show together, like all the reference, you don't get the show. Like that was everything. Like, and now to see it kind of like split is the oddest thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Really bizarre, really kind of disappointing.
It's disappointing, like, and it's weird because like you don't have this show anymore. You don't have Highly Questionable. You don't have these things
Around
going
the
on.
Horn's gone.
Around the Horn is gone. We did a whole thing.
I remember that whole hour and a half block I would watch on ESPN, and now it's just pardon the interruption.
Right, because with Happy Hour, you had PTI and Around the Horn, and then you would have the 6 p.m. Sports Center after it, leading into either an NBA game or whatever it was. Like, it's weird what they're doing. Like, Sports Center's not Sports Center anymore. I mean,
you say that, but you've also have recently all the stuff that's going on with ESPN, how they're investing in all the broadcasting rights. You know, they're going to be losing the UFC live events, but they're looking to buy the Fightpass library. They're looking to get the WWE. They got all the PLEs. Now they want the entire video library. The purchase of MLB TV, the purchase of NFL subsidiaries in exchange for the NFL to get a stake in ESPN.
By the way, I've never seen a fan base in the UFC panic so much over ESPN reportedly buying Fightpass.
Well, because ESPN, their video player was just been so bad over the last year and a half, especially.
You're not the first one to tell me that. Yeah,
definitely ever since the beginning, but the last year and a half especially, I think. And everyone thought, oh, we're finally going to get away from ESPN, and it's like, psych!
Yeah, psych! You're getting punked. Where's Ashton Kutcher? I mean, like, I don't know. But, I mean, it was kind of cool, like, seeing Rich Eisen do Sports Center for the first time since the 90s. Like, by the way, the most successful watch Sports Center in, they said, like, over a decade, by the way. I think they said it was like 730,000 viewers turned in to watch Rich Eisen at 11 p.m. They said that was more than SVP. And I was like, wait, what? And I'm like, now there's, and I love when ESPN, like when they, you give them an inch, they take a mile, where a report came out right after that said, oh, Rich Eisen's going to come back and do special sports centers now. What? Like, you brought him back for one time just because his radio show and digital show is moving to ESPN Radio and Disney Plus and ESPN Plus with that whole distribution thing with NFL Network being taken over by ESPN. But I think ESPN is going to become like the household, like, which I don't know if like when you and I used to talk ESPN all the time.
Well, I remember one of the stories we did in 2024 was ESPN looking to ditch the cable channel and just
yes, you're right. I do remember that they were going to go like full digital and say screw the cable packages. But
I wouldn't be surprised if within the next few years, 3 to 5 years, that still happens.
I mean, it's weird though because of like the list you just said, where they're buying MLB.TV, which I did not have that on the bingo card whatsoever.
No, I mean, that's fantastic for MLB fans, and you combine that with, I have to throw it out there, our little deal with playback.
Well, yeah, that we don't get affected by that as much because they already have a license, blanket license.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that's a lot more people who can have access to MLB.TV, which
that's true. You're right.
I mean, that's going basically the route of the NFL and the Sunday Ticket on YouTube, where you have a lot more possible subscribers now who can get out of market games.
I read today reportedly that I don't know if you saw the Sunday Ticket thing that they're now offering monthly subscriber offers now, where you don't have to buy it for the full NFL season anymore. I'm assuming you could probably do that with Red Zone, but But yeah, so MLB.TV, UFC Fight Pass, they already have an NBA deal. They have an NHL deal. Am I leaving anything out? Or did I hit all the sports?
The WWE PLEs.
Oh, right. The WWE.
How they might get the WWE library, like they might get the UFC library.
And they pushed the deal up for the WWE, which...
That took me off guard.
I don't know. Do you have any like idea of why they might have done that?
I don't know. I don't even know if I can say it was on the WWE end. I think this is ESPN just pushing to have...
Just bring it on. Like,
they want the content.
Well, now with this... Well, the whole
when we talked about when we had all the different, firings and layoffs over at ESPN, I remember one of the things we talked about with...
AJ Perez. With AJ, right?
Yes. I think one of the things with AJ, when I was asking him a question, I said, it seems that ESPN is going into the direction of, we don't care who the commentators or anything or the people are. We just care about the content. And that's what it seems, especially as they now might be losing the UFC and now they're trying to get part of, because they want the number one everything. They lost Sunday Night Baseball, but now they have a chance. They're going to get MLB TV. They have the NFL with the Monday Night Football and the buying part of the NFL with the Red Zone and the network.
That's a weird deal.
I know. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's even going to stay.
They're now saying possibly 2027 it might not clear until now?
Well, usually these deals kind of take a while.
But you have the FCC and all that to deal with, which is a whole different issue.
Right. And I didn't even want to bring politics up on.
Well, yes, because a certain somebody in the White House.
And I have to give credit to Ariel Helwani was interviewing him. He was the former, wasn't he? It was an executive over, I think, for a couple of different MLB teams.
Oh, I know the interview you're talking about. I just can't remember
But he mentioned by name, like, is Trump going to get involved?
Of course he is. Of course he is. There's already reports out there that he's basically going to try to put a stop to it, which I don't know why. That makes more money, more jobs. Well, actually, I shouldn't say more jobs, but
I'm just wondering if he gets into that deal, is he going to get into everything else that ESPN is trying?
Of course, because he'll find a way to say, "Oh, I got screwed by ESPN many years ago."
Well, now the question's going to but it also brings up a question that you had mentioned, Nick, when, one of our little talks, so we were getting back on things. Feels a little monopolistic, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. Because like I said, MLB.TV, UFC Fightpass, NFL Network completely. They're taking it over and putting it. And just for one linear point, NFL Network's not going to be on TV, at least from what I understand anymore. It's going to be on the D2C app that they're working towards.
Yeah, which ESPN Plus is no longer ESPN Plus. It's now ESPN Select. But the whole app is called ESPN. Yeah, which is going to get confusing.
How original that they decided to call their new app ESPN. Like, bravo, ESPN, good job. But the one question I forgot to ask before, the UFC pay-per-view being... I talked to Zan about this. We talked about this on the show. That I think that is a no-brainer. That's a win-win for the fans. Now, I did hear...
By the way, when I was mentioning the Ariel Helwani interview, David Sampson, the former Marlins.
He's on Meadowlark. He's one of the shows on Meadowlark. He, from what I heard reportedly, he's the one that kind of destroyed the relationship between Dan and Stu, from what I understood.
Okay, so this conversation goes full circle then.
Yeah, but I guess the one question I would ask Mr. UFC brain over here is, I think it's a no-brainer, obviously, the pay-per-view being gone because it was a dinosaur.
Absolutely. So one of the stories that I had written for MMA News was kind of broke down a little bit of a timeline as to how we got here. And there was a report, and Zan and I talked about it last year on the MMA Outsiders from the New York Post, that the UFC ESPN relationship was kind of fracturing a little bit.
Badly.
As I had mentioned, UFC was a little unhappy with one of their broadcasts in particular. I think it was 313 in March. Technical difficulties up the wazoo. And ESPN was unsatisfied with that the number of pay-per-view buys were decreasing. One thing Zan and I didn't necessarily address, we kind of addressed 315 this year. So Zan and either Pat or Zan and Anthony had talked about it, the whole fracturing. 315 in May, there was a report from Yahoo that basically said UFC 315 was on its way to being one of the lowest bought UFC pay-per-views ever. Like, I'm not just talking the ESPN era. I'm talking back to the 90s. I'm talking about to the dark ages of the late 90s. Zuffa first buy in 2001. Everything one of the lowest bought pay-per-views.
Well, I think pay-per-views just sound like a dinosaur algorithm.
And that's what people have been saying, and I agree with it, is the pay-per-view concept itself is old. And it's kind of just passe. That's why you're seeing like Turk al-Sheikh, the general counsel in Saudi Arabia, who's been running all the Riyadh season stuff that you see commercials for, and the Riyadh season boxing. He said beginning in November, when all these Riyadh season cards that are on DAZN, if you remember, DAZN ironically was there to try and originally stop all the pay-per-views, and then the pandemic happened, and the DAZN numbers didn't do well, and then the pay-per-view model came back.
And the price was too high.
Right. And basically he's saying, no, because the consumers, especially in a day and age, Nick, where we've got inflation up the wazoo.
Oh, God.
The pay-per-view concept just doesn't work, especially when you've got a sport like boxing whose reach in the mainstream is basically slim.
Well, what about the Canelo fight? Is that still a pay-per-view or no?
Yeah, no, that's on Netflix. That's like the Tyson Paul fight. It's going to be available to any Netflix subscriber.
I happen to have Netflix, so I can watch it. I probably will watch it because I actually did watch the Tyson Paul fight.
Yeah, well, this one's actually going to be a good fight.
And I hope that they control the amount of technical issues for the amount of money they spent on that. Of course, I got to ask the one stupid question when I looked at the analyst list. You probably know which one I'm going to ask about. But
Max?
No, Max is the obvious one.
Okay, good, okay.
I'm talking about Mario Lopez.
That's the celebrity angle. But he actually is a boxing fan.
Oh, is he?
Mario
I didn't know
Lopez, that. I think the two that I know, Mario Lopez and Rosie Perez, they are legitimate boxing fans.
I've heard Rosie Perez many times. Like, she sounds like she knows what she's doing.
Fanatic.
Yeah, but the Mario Lopez one threw me for a loop.
No, I think he is a boxing fan. He's like very
I
big
thought that was
celebrity
just
boxing
like,
fan.
let's see what big name we can grab out of the hat. And I mean, I think the Jake Paul Mike Tyson one was more of a celebrity fest than
Yeah.
anything. But
But
what's
yeah, but
interesting,
the other thing, sorry, but one more thing I
yeah,
want to bring up is just also kind of something that people are talking about. I had thrown out a poll last month or a couple of weeks ago, rather, when the deal was first announced, and trying to make the most of it. Or was it right before? It might have been right before. It might have been when Dana was teasing that, oh, it's coming soon, about what the issue is and like what people want to see out of a new broadcast. People are forgetting. And this is stuff. This is stuff that Zen and I did talk about for the last couple of years. There was points where every 6 months the UFC's pay-per-view prices were increasing. When it was first on ESPN, I think it was what, about 50, $55.
now it's like
Uh,
80, right?
yeah, and
Or-
it over the course of a 2 or 3 year period, it went up to $80.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, we're talking, well, before they killed it, what would that be, like $1,000 a year or something?
Yeah, you people could be spending up to $1,000 a year on UFC pay-per-views.
Is that on top of the ESPN
Yep,
Plus?
it's another paywall. Because if you remember a couple of years, or was it? Yeah, it was. When was the last increase? Was it late 23, early 24?
I think it was early 24. Yeah.
I said if it goes up one more time, I might have to consider changing how I'm a fight fan. Or
You know
if
what
I'm
that is,
covering it.
though? I think that was probably the Dana, I have the product. If you want it badly, you'll pay for it type of BS.
And it clearly backfired when ESPN's been complaining about the number of pay-per-view prices.
The other thing that didn't make sense either, and I'm sure you talked about it in an article, but when I forgot who it was it Ari Emanuel who went on Squawk Box on CNBC, or it was either him and I forgot the other guy from
Shapiro.
TKO and Shapiro that were on Squawk Box and said, "Oh, well, the whole thing is going to be on CBS," and then Dana like said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 hold the phone."
I think what's going on, and this can even stretch to, because I see you have the wrestling show now on playback.
Yes.
I think there are things going on at TK. This is not me with any information. This is theorizing.
Speculation, kind of.
I'm wondering if there's stuff going on with TKO leadership where the left hand and the right hand don't know what each other are doing. Because when I heard Ari and Mark talk about that, it seems like what they want to do is make the UFC, they want to give it the NFL style focus where, because NFL is on broadcast networks. Even if you don't have cable, on Sundays you can go to Channel 2 or Channel 5 here in New York,
right,
or wherever, your local CBS, ABC, NBC, Fox station, and you can get a football game. You can get Monday Night Football. You can get Sunday Night Football. And I guess that's what they want to do with the UFC. Now, in terms of the differences that you're talking about, Dana saying in terms of pay-per-view and in terms of everything beyond CBS, I'm split. In terms of the CBS stuff, I believe Dana, only because it doesn't even have anything to do with UFC. Only because CBS just signed a deal a couple of years ago with the Big Ten and just signed a deal this year with the new Pac-12. You can't tell me, as much as good as it would be for us people who love the UFC and want it on broadcast television, not just the streaming, you can't tell me you're going to abandon Saturday night Big Ten games or Pac-12 games just to have, a UFC card. If it's a UFC numbered card, the old pay-per-view, maybe, but a UFC, let's say a UFC Fight Night card, one of these that you see currently behind the Plus paywall that features, two ranked but lower ranked contenders in the main event and not too many other names, a lot of Dana White Contender Series people, unranked. You're not going to replace a Big Ten matchup on Saturday night or a Pac-12 matchup on Saturday with a UFC card like that. It makes no sense. Now, in terms of Dana saying, kind of hinting, but if a Conor McGregor or a John Jones come, we could make a 14th numbered card and make that a paper. I don't think so. Only because, you know, can you put the toothpaste back in? I mean, I just mentioned we saw it with DAZN, but I think there is a difference between DAZN and boxing versus the UFC and Paramount slash CBS slash Paramount post merger with Skydance. I think there's a difference.
Well, I think it also helped that Skydance had a shitload of money, and they were, because originally, if I remember correctly, in that report was that Paramount was only going to go after the fight nights. I think originally.
Yeah. Originally, it was going to be split. The fight nights were going to go to one, and the number of cards were going to go to another. And technically, a split is still happening because if
DWCS. And
if ESPN gets the library, I assume that means ESPN will retain the rights to DWCS and The Ultimate Fighter, because I believe both of those are simulcast on Fightpass.
Because what I'll tell you right now is I don't want to reveal too much because I don't know the whole operation of playback. Yeah. I only know some things, but they were talking about like possibly getting UFC now that there's no pay-per-view behind that paywall.
Well, I think the other thing is, yeah, it helps people because there aren't going to be any sort of... I think actually the better way to say it, Nick, Vince McMahon might be going from WWE, but when he put the WWE Network idea out there, what is it now, 11, 12 years ago?
Yeah.
I'm surprised more people didn't jump on, and I think people are finally starting to jump on, going in this direction of, if we're going into the digital age, I think one of the reasons that they have overspent Paramount on the UFC is because, okay, this is going to help lead us to get subscriber numbers because you're not paying. And I think this is why some people have a problem with the WWE with the ESPN thing, because people at the WWE Network who have been long-time people, like
the all-timers, the originals, yeah,
$9.99 a month, and even with the Peacock, with the ads between $4.99 and $10.99, like there was a little increase, but you know what? You got everything: a video library, live events, etc. So the price hike to the $30 ESPN paywall, but we just said UFC people have never had that. They've had the additional paywall ever since April of 2019 with ESPN Plus. Now you're giving them the WWE Network model. So even if Paramount were to say, you know what, because we have UFC, now we're going to do an additional tier and it's going to be like $15 or $20, I guarantee you people will still be satisfied because you're not paying that additional $1,000 a month for the pay-per-view cards.
Well, that's what's interesting about the D2C, because they're saying if you have a cable like an Optimum or a Spectrum or a satellite, I'm hoping they figure out YouTube TV.
Well, YouTube TV's in its own problems, Nick.
Well, you're talking about the Fox thing. Yeah. I'll get to that in a second because I have another one to ask about. But they're saying that YouTube TV eventually will make that list, I hope. Not that I really need much of that service because I have a Netflix, I have an Amazon, I have a Paramount Plus anyway. So if I really want to watch the fights or if I want to watch football, like, even though it's funny, like, we purchase these services and we don't even use it for like the footballs because I can't flip the channels because if I want to watch Thursday night football.
But I think ESPN in the same route that Paramount is doing, trying to build its subscriber base with the overpay of the UFC, ESPN's doing something similar with its new service, and that's why you're seeing the partial purchase with NFL, the MLB TV, the UFC fight. That's why you're seeing all this. They're trying to grab as much content as possible because then,
for their app,
you'll go to our platform. And you know what? We talk about it being monopolistic, but at the same time, Nick, isn't it so convenient as even if you're not a fight fan, if you're just a generic sports fan, I can go on ESPN. Hey, there's a Major League Baseball game. There's an NFL game. There's an NBA game I can watch. There's an NHL game. You have a one-stop shop. Are you going to get everything? No, because those leagues have other deals with providers, but you get something. You'll get a lot of it.
This is crazy, the amount of rights. I've never seen ESPN with this amount of rights ever.
And
we've watched sports forever. Like I've never seen that many.
I guess combined with the special sports centers that you mentioned, and ESPN wants to go back to it wants a digital age version of its glory days.
Which is great. I hope. I mean, of course, they have to keep promoting Stephen A. Smith and First Take and everything.
Right.
But just give me the sports. Like it used to be like the talk.
But I think that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to give people the sports.
I kind of miss like the sports reporters, as like you and I were discussing, or what was the other show? E60. Like E60 is not what E60 used to be, where it would come. It had its own time slot.
Yeah.
Most of the time, and I don't know. Like I feel like that's kind of missing. But the other thing you were talking about, YouTube TV, Fox and its dispute. Could they not have college football in a week from now?
Well, we've gone through this a couple of years now with YouTube TV. We've covered it on ETB Sports.
Yeah.
I think what's going to happen is something similar to, I think last year was with ABC.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be very similar. I think they're going to lose week 1 of college football, but they'll get it done in time before the NFL season kicks off.
It would be so nice if these media partners would actually not do the purposeful thing and say, oh, we're not going to give you a week or 2 of a sport until we figure this out. I mean, the one that's going to be the most laughable to watch now is the WNBA with the lockout coming up. What our network's going to do to replace that? I mean, because
we might have that same conversation. Nick, we might have that same conversation a year later with the MLB.
I think that one's going to be worse, just because I think we're going to be sitting for the long haul on MLB because of all the salary cap, which is, I think MLB is the only sport left that doesn't have a salary cap.
Yeah, but we've talked about it before, Nick. Once they have given the players all this time with no salary cap. Now they're going to be very...
Well, what about all the sponsors? I mean, these players make so much money off the field. I mean...
But you also, as much as, people here in New York do not like Aaron Boone, he did mention something in a comment this month talking about the Yankee position, where they are, and he mentioned about... He himself, I don't know if you know this exact quote. I don't remember the exact quote, but about how the Yankees are spenders and how there are 10 or 11 owners in this league who do not spend money.
No, I do remember him that formation, that quote. Yeah.
I mean, the Orioles just signed an extension with that one young kid that they got.
Oh, the catcher. From
the Yankees. And now look at poor Adley Rutschman. You thought that he was going to be a long-term player in Baltimore. Now he's looking at a potential that he's going to be going somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, well, baseball's again still got its own issues because of they're still trying to act local, regional.
Nick, this goes back to, you want to go back to the unspoken days?
Oh,
you'd yell cap. Nick Federa would yell floor, and I would scream "Por qué no las dos?" And
yes, I do remember that.
And you know what's pleasing me? People on social media are saying the same thing. Put freaking both in. Have it that, hey, all MLB teams have to be, let's say, as an example, $150 million to $350 million. That's the vacuum. All 30 teams have to be that way.
You have a spending limit, but you also have to spend a certain amount on the top. Because it's funny, like I think Callan, the guy who does press row with me, talks about this all the time. The Rockies, the Pirates, the Rays, which are in a whole unique situation themselves.
I was going to say the Hurricane, unfortunately, left a really unique situation on them.
But I would say the Pirates and the Rockies,
two of the biggest offenders.
Like
the A's are a big offender.
Oh God, the A's. That organization taking on a free minor league ballpark in Sacramento rather than getting their ballpark ready in Las Vegas, which I don't think that they say they started on it. When are we going to see that in like 2100? Like, I don't know, but I'm trying to think if there was anything else. I mean, what was your thoughts on the whole Dave Portnoy and like almost getting banned from going to Ohio State with Fox?
Doesn't surprise me. He's a big-time Michigan fan.
Well, but apparently the AD said, "Oh, well, we never did it. Fox just told him he couldn't go." So it became like a game of Pong, like back and forth, like who's that's such a dated reference, I know. But my point is that like they were hitting it back and forth at each other and waiting for someone to hit the other person in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I'll just say it's really good to have this Michigan-Ohio State rivalry back now that they're the most recent 2 national champions in college football.
I also saw what was the kid's name? Oh, Jeremiah Smith, the wide receiver out of Ohio, just going out of his way saying, "I hate Michigan and I'm just going to do everything in my power to beat them." I'm like, yeah, we got rivalries in football again.
The rivalry is back.
Because I feel like that rivalry was kind of dead.
That's going to make this year's Thanksgiving weekend showdown between those two really interesting.
Oh man, that's going to be really good. But wow, we've done 40 minutes on here. It's like old times all over again. But if you didn't know, now it's official. As you have returned to the network, as you said, some MMA stuff, some NFL stuff, and maybe a smattering in between. Hey, maybe you might show up for the big episode of our show, maybe, which is coming up very soon.
Yeah,
300 episodes.
Yeah, I might have to take time out for that one.
So, I don't know. Is there anything left before we conclude this first content we've done together in like 7 months?
I know. Good to be back. And yeah, like you mentioned, football forecast. I'm back on the crew. MMA Outsiders. I'll be popping up time and time again. You'll be definitely seeing a lot of me on the playback side of things, and
a new show in the works.
Hopefully a new show will come to fruition.
So just make sure you stay tuned for it. Like if you're looking at your screen and saying, "Wait, where has this been?" Well, it's back. So you're gonna see us, and you might see us pop up and do short videos, because maybe that's a way of us to continue doing, excuse me, stuff together, even if it's not a full show. But I guess that's it. I'm guaranteeing you, you and I are gonna get a bunch of like messages after this goes up and be like, "What happened?" And they're gonna be like, "We get back together. It happens. Friends fight. It happens." But that's it. You'll hear more soon. I don't know when we're gonna. I might just put this up as soon as we're done. But
yeah, go surprise the others.
Yeah. Have a good day. Have a good night. It'll be up on YouTube, so take a watch. But have a good day, everybody. You'll see us next time.